Excited, excited certainly for the last home game. It's kind of crazy to think that senior night and our last game here for this team is already here. We say it every year, but it really does fly by. So certainly excited coming off the win against Baylor. Should be a really fun week, getting ready to prepare against a very good TCU team that's really, in my opinion, improved a lot throughout the season, playing very well right now. Had a big win up at Texas Tech last week. We all know how tough it is to win there. Playing extremely good defensively, like they always do. A lot of new faces on that defense, but they're playing like TCU does on defense. So it's no surprise. Coach Patterson, as I've always said, is one of the best at what he does. Offensively, a lot of really, really good playmakers. Couple really good backs. The young quarterback's playing well for him. Talented skill group led by Jalen Rager. Guys we've played, know about, tough to stop. So should be a fun week. Looking forward to a great crowd. Got to have our place rocking. 7 o'clock Saturday night. Last one. Need to make it our best. Both us as a team, fan base, everybody. Let's go have a great evening.
Lincoln, 20 years ago, when Mike Leach brought the air raid here, there was no quarterback run game, and there was certainly no methodical time drives where they had 4 plays in the third quarter and then 16, I think, total.
Right.
So talk about the evolution of how you changed the air raid from what it was.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We were very similar at Texas Tech throughout those years, and then we got to East Carolina, and we didn't have as good of players relative to most of the people we played, or as talented of players, and so we had to just continue to adapt. And then always just my philosophy was, I loved how we threw the ball. I thought there were times at Texas Tech where not being able to run it or at times control it hurt us. As good as we were offensively, I thought there were some opportunities there, and we'd always kind of dreamed up that if you could have a great running game combined with the throw game and the mentality of kind of the air raid principles, that you could have something pretty good. And so we started doing it a little bit more last few years at East Carolina. And then that was one of the exciting things coming here is, you felt like with the linemen you could get here. But that kind of backs you can get at Oklahoma, that could be a decent combination. I think it has been. And then some of the run game has just been obviously not just about the O-line and the running back personnel, but certainly the quarterback personnel. The 3 starters we've had here, have all been a little bit different in that regard. We've all used them in different ways, and that certainly served us well the other night.
Lincoln, the tale of the 2 halves of this game is interesting because, in the first half, nothing goes right. You even you have more penalties than they do. But then when you guys put it together, and they can't stop you, you stop yourself, in one drive. What does it really say about your team as you move forward in the final 3 or 4 games, huge games you've got to play, of just how good you guys can be?
Yeah, we've developed some toughness. I think have come together in maybe a little bit different way as a team over the last several weeks, and it sets the stage to go play well here at the end, but we still have to go do it. It's that's the momentum of winning a game like that is great, but it's not going to be enough to beat TCU. You got to go put it into action, and so the things that we did well as a team, the mentality of the team, you want that to continue and grow, and then some of the things that we didn't do well that caused us to be in a hole in the first place, we're certainly going to have to do better. So it's exciting, but we got to go do something with it, and that'll be our message to the guys.
Jenny Carlson.
Lincoln, obviously everybody was celebrating as they should be after that game on Saturday, but Jalen, such an even keel guy, we really saw him enjoy that moment. What do you think was sort of wrapped up in that? And he like your other seniors, he's kind of coming down to the end here. Do you feel like he's maybe seeing things? Is there any sort of change that, maybe was part of that too for him?
I told Jalen before he came here that, if he did come here, that one of my goals was going to be for him to – to be able to enjoy it, and to have fun with it. I think that's an important part of this game. And, I've had guys like him before that take it so seriously. And he does have fun. He has more fun with it than probably you guys see on the outside, certainly. And but yeah, no, it's fun to see. I mean, and I think the joy was in, what the team was able to do and having each other's backs and really trusting it when it would have been easy to fold or easy to get away from what we're doing or easy to not believe in each other, and to kind of hang in there in that moment was, where his and a lot of our joy came from.
Lincoln, every time we ask you about the playoff, you go to winning takes care of all that, and I get it. And you got a big one, obviously, Saturday night. Having said that, does winning without a player as important as CeeDee Lamb, should that give you higher marks?
I don't know. I mean, it's some adversity that we've had. I mean, we've had obviously not having CD the other night, was a factor. But I mean, there's a lot of players we don't have right now. We've lost a lot of guys this year, a lot of season enders, and so we've been able to fight through. I mean, I think it says a lot about our team. What we can be and what we're pushing through. But a lot of people are pushing through, different injuries, guys banged up. I mean, that's part of it. But so I don't know. I don't know how to answer it. It's a better question for Joe.
Tyler, comment to you.
Lincoln, you guys always pride yourself on getting a lot of different receivers involved, but what specifically was the benefit, do you think, moving forward of getting Lee Morris a handful of catches the other night, especially considering Grant Calcaterra's status is a little up in the air, and also could you comment on maybe where Grant's at?
Yeah, Lee was a huge part of the game. He played excellent. Jalen did a good job finding him on a number of occasions. And our guys outside have gotten some attention, and so it's even with CD not there, it was important to be able to attack some people over the middle, and then Lee just made some clutch, big time catches. I mean, several of the catches he got hit a little bit and able to hang on. I mean, it's what he's done his entire career here. So no, great to see, and he's always played well at the end of years and in big games, and I'm sure that Jalen already certainly had high confidence in him, but that certainly didn't hurt. Grant's status still won't be available this week. Could continue to monitor, but not ready.
Eric Bailey.
Can you talk a little bit about just the recruiting of Gabe Burkage? How did you find him, and how did you get him on campus? And then also that last drive setting up the final field goal, just kind of memorable. Just think back to the 2017 K-State game, 2018 Army, how you kind of got yourself in position.
Yeah. Gabe's recruitment, Coach Bullware, and Ryan Doherty in our office, they both kind of identified him, liked him, thought he was a really, really talented kid, and looking at kind of where we were with Austin getting ready to leave, it was a year we were certainly interested in taking a kicker, and so we kind of, if you're going to scholarship a specialist, you got to be right, and a lot of times we've been able to go the walk-on route at times with guys, and then get a couple of great ones and let them compete, and then scholarship the person who wins it. But we just felt like in the end that Gabe was good enough, that he was good enough to do it, and we thought he had the power to be good on kickoffs. He got the ball up quick. I mean, he was really, really talented, and felt like if we could just develop him a little bit, he had a chance to be pretty good, and he's certainly proven that. And then, the drive at the end. I mean, it's when you have confidence in your kicker, it certainly that factors into your mind. I mean, we definitely wanted to score a touchdown, but certainly once we got inside the 35-yard line, we felt pretty decent about our chances of making a kick, and so. You're aware of that. Certainly, you don't want to go backwards. Jalen did a great job on the one bad snap that Creed had of throwing the ball away. That was a huge, huge play in the game. And then we were able to kind of gain positive yards. We were really close to popping the screen there at the end and maybe scoring on that one, but we didn't. And yeah, had a lot of confidence in Gabe, and I've said it a bunch. I know it gets overlooked, but yeah, Gabe's been great. But having two guys like Casey and Connor, man, I'm just telling you that's just as important as kicking that thing through there. And those three guys have all operated at a high level, and they did it again in a critical situation.
Yeah, Lincoln, R.J. Proctor replaced Eric Swanson in the first half. Is that performance-based, or did something happen to Eric? And what is the versatility and experience of Proctor meant to this team throughout the season?
Yeah, no, Eric was fine. We'd planned the whole time to play RJ. We thought he had earned the right to play him some, and then as RJ got in there, thought he was playing well, and we gave him a couple of series, and then we kind of started to settle in and got on a roll, and so we ended up just leaving him in. So yeah, RJ's. No, he has. He's been important. He's obviously played different positions for us. Been able to come in and do that as a graduate transfer. He stayed extremely positive through the playing some and then not playing some, and some of the back and forth. He's worked hard at it and put himself in position to really contribute here a lot at the end of the season.
Yeah, Parnell told us after the game that you guys showed him some video from Super Bowl 51, the Patriots' big comeback. Who's responsible for thinking up that kind of prophetic situation? And have you thought about just showing them the 49ers Broncos Super Bowl 55-10?
Yeah, you stole the quote from me. Yeah, no, we had talked a lot through the week about just the different adversities you face and sticking together as a team. It was put a little in a different way than that, but that was kind of a part of our theme for the week. And so, yeah, we had a couple videos we showed the team, and I think that particular one was one that Coach Grant showed the defense throughout the week. So yeah, I'll tell him to pick one where we don't get down so far next time.
Yeah, Lincoln, I'm curious about the extremes that we've seen that this team has shown the last three games. You said after the Iowa State game that the first half was probably as good as you've seen out here, and you could probably say the same thing about the second half of the Baylor game. Throw the Kansas State game, how that was up and down. How do you account for those unbelievable extremes in the course of one 60-minute game, and how do you try to level that out going forward?
I mean, I think the answer to those things is we always want to jump to conclusions one way or another. I mean, the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. I thought, we were a fraction off, in the first half against Baylor. And they, I give Baylor a lot of credit. I mean, they made some really, really nice plays on really all three sides of the ball against us. And it gets against good competition. Again, the margin is so thin. I mean, it's not like, we weren't just god awful in the first half, and then the flip side of that, we weren't the greatest team ever in the second half. It was just the margins are that thin, and we were able to get some momentum and clean up some of those small little mistakes, and that was enough for the difference. And so you're going to have those runs back and forth when you're playing good teams. We certainly, our goal, no doubt, is to be able to play more consistently here in the last few games of the season. I liked where our team was emotionally all the way throughout the game last week. We've got to be ready to lay it on the line emotionally again this week and then play a little bit cleaner throughout.
Okay, Cliff Brown.
Yeah, Coach, you guys have 6 November wins over the last 2 years. 5 of them are by 5 points or fewer. One way or another, you guys keep finding a way to win these games. A comeback, a big play on offense, big play on defense. Obviously, this is a pattern that goes beyond X's and O's. What is it about the people you have here that allows them to find it in themselves to keep making these plays at crunch time?
Well, I think we believe in ourselves. I think we believe in that regardless of how the game's going, good, bad, whatever, that we can find a way to do it. I've said a lot. We've really worked hard to try to improve throughout the years, and a lot of times these November games tend to be against the best teams too. So we've done it against some good competition. We had obviously played a great team the other night. We're getting ready to play a really good football team here coming up again. So I mean, we found a way. I do think it's some of the culture in this place and the teams that we've had and players that have, winning winning games and having a chance to win a championship at the end of the season has been of the utmost importance to them.
Lincoln, you talked about Lee Morris a little bit ago. I'm curious what you make of the way he handled things early in the season when he wasn't a big part of this offense, and how that's helped him, be productive here late in the season.
Yeah, he's been probably one of our most unselfish players for the entire time he's been here. I mean, he came here as a walk-on. Probably shouldn't have been, and then he's played on darn near every special teams that every one of them that we've had. Kind of been a kind of a jack of all trades offensively. He never says a word. He just works, shows up. He's there every single day. He's really tough. He's really made himself into a really, really good football player. So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all with how he handled it. I would have never worried about that with him at all. But that's part of why he's the player he is, and a good example for a lot of young guys.
Yeah, the contributions you got from some of your young receivers, how much confidence in the big stage does that give you in using them more going forward?
No, it was good. I mean, there was a lot of the biggest plays in the game, which is, it's exciting for us. I mean, this team now, but exciting for, our program in the future is a lot of the biggest plays in the game were made by, freshmen and sophomores. And so that's pretty fun to see. No, it can be a great confidence boost for those guys, and confidence in our older guys to give them opportunities, and confidence in coaches to give them opportunities, and we're certainly going to need them.
Coach, do you expect C.D. Lamb to be able to play? And you had 2-3 other guys play the other night, like Ely, that you mentioned were kind of nicked up, but were able to play through it. Are you going to have those guys moving forward if there's no injuries this week?
Yeah, I would anticipate the guys that played. It's the end of the year. You're going to have some guys banged up, but I think the guys that played have all got a pretty good shot to be available for us. CD's still going to be up in there. I mean, we haven't seen our guys yet this week, with Sunday being our off day. It's not a definite no, but certainly not a definite yes right now.
Yeah, Gary Patterson said this morning that he went home and just watched your game live. Said it looked like to him in the first half, you guys played without a lot of energy. And then in the second half, it looked like Baylor sort of got maybe depleted on the energy level. And he thought both of you had had 2 really tough games before, and it's just hard to maintain that kind of energy level week after week after week. Is that a factor in anything we saw Saturday night?
Oh, no. That was probably the most excited we've been to play all year. I mean, yeah. I know TV doesn't always portray it, but no, our sideline, our kids ready to play that game. I would almost argue that we maybe had a little bit too much early, but certainly wasn't for lack of it, no.
Lincoln, I'm sorry if you addressed this in postgame. I went down there, but the play that Jalen made on the field goal drive, where the ball's 10 or 15 yards behind him, and he's scrambling back, not just to maintain possession, but to gather himself and basically save the down, save the yardage.
Yep.
Anyway, I guess the first thing is keep possession, but for him not just to do that, but to save you yardage. Just address just how unique that is.
It's good. I mean, we coached that. I can't. He's probably sick of watching it now. I got a good example. I don't have to show this one anymore, but I've showed them the clip of Baker doing that against Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. I think it was late in the third, maybe. And we snapped it over his head, and he did the same thing. Probably saved us 20 yards. And I think we ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. And I've showed them that a lot of times. Every time we have a bad snap in practice, they know that clip's coming next, because it's. There's other factors, that have to be present to make it an incomplete pass and not a penalty and all that. But, just really good awareness by Jalen in the moment, and was able to scoop it clean. And, that's no different than completing a really tough 20-yard pass down the middle. I mean, that's because obviously that's probably about what it saved us.
Lincoln, I know that the guys have to go out and execute, but in a game like we saw Saturday, are there things that you say to your guys? Do you try to keep it the same to maintain that, this is still a normal setup, or do you have to change it up? Do you have to draw on things from your past to try to change what you're seeing out of your guys?
Well, I think there's two sides of it. I mean, I think you go into each game with, some really key points that we know we have to do well. But then, the game is always so unpredictable. I mean, that's not in our wildest dreams that we had thought it would have started like that. And so I do think, you've got to be ready to adjust. And a lot of our message stayed the same. Some of it was just continuing to trust the original message, even though this isn't going the way that we want it to. And honestly, probably a large portion of it was that. And I think we were able to draw back on our experience at Kansas State. And I think, I know I said it over and over, and it's probably boring to you guys, but we were able to really draw back on the week that we had. I mean, that's even down 28-3 on the road when nothing's going right. The week that we had did happen, and you are prepared, and you are very capable. And to not forget that just because of the circumstances. And our guys, they absolutely believed it.
You mentioned not being worried about Lee Morris not playing a big role in the first half of the season. What about guys like Jaden Hazelwood, Theo Weiss, who probably came in expecting to be big parts right off the bat? Was it tough to get them to trust the process?
Oh, I think it's, for a young guy, I think it's always tougher. And you want guys that want to play. I mean, if they're okay just standing over the sidelines or not playing, then they're not the right guy either. So there's a very, very fine line, and those guys have handled it well. I mean, they won opportunities. They want the chance to play more. I mean, Stogner. There's a bunch of guys on our team in that situation, and they want those opportunities. And so, but there's two things. I mean, they have to understand, one, the great plays or highlight plays you make are great, but the opportunities goes to the ones that are the most consistent, and you've got to go prove that you're deserving of those reps. And then there's also times, and again, Lee's a great example, where he's got a lot of reps and has some games where not many balls come his way, and then all of a sudden he has a huge night for us, and that's it can go that way too. And we're lucky that we've got some old guys that are very unselfish, that have been through this, that can be great examples to those guys. And I think in large part they've handled it well. And then, when they got an opportunity on a big stage, they were ready.
Okay, we'll go to Danielle Dwyer.
Lincoln, talk about just Ronnie Perkins' performance this past weekend and just what he has meant and how he's grown this season with the defense.
Yeah, no, he was awesome the other night. He really was. He was our defensive player of the game. Had 3 big sacks, another big tackle for loss. He is, Neville's really gotten a lot of attention inside, and that's created some opportunities on the edges for a lot of one-on-ones with our guys, and our guys have got to be able to win those, and Ronnie was able to win his fair share the other night. So that's he's definitely evolved and growing as a player. He's starting, I feel like, to take some of those steps of, you flashed some as a freshman, and he did a lot of good things, but starting to certainly become a more consistent player. And I think the scheme has really fit his skill set well, but certainly he had some huge ones the other night.
James?
Jalen Redmond has battled for playing time with Stokes, but it looked like he had a kind of a coming out game. He just seemed to be all over the field. What about his development?
Yeah, he was active. He played certainly one of his better games. He was very active the other night. I thought he was one of the guys, really our whole team, but he was kind of like the team in that he had a tremendous week of practice, was extremely active through the week, and so wasn't really surprised to see him, create a lot of havoc the other night. So, and he's just still scratching the surface of how good he can be. I mean, he's got to keep developing, but he could really, really be a good player. I mean, there's no doubt. And nights like the other night, I think, build his confidence, and he's just got to keep going and having weeks like he did last week.
Barry?
Yeah, Lincoln, did you guys go to a more vertical running game in the second half? And was that the 32-yard run by Kennedy when you were 2nd and 19, how tough was a call that for you to run the ball on 2nd and 19 backed up in your own end?
I don't remember it being that tough. I mean, I don't get caught up a whole lot in runs and passes. We just call the best play in the moment. I mean, I think when you do that, all of a sudden you cut off half of what you could call. I mean, I've just never called plays like that. Run game wise, there's a few little adjustments throughout the game. I thought we had a pretty decent mix. We got the ball on the edge there. A couple times we were able to penetrate through the middle. So we always want to try to, attack the defense in several different ways with the run game. There wasn't a whole lot different, I would say, that we called. Executed it a little bit better in the second half. We had some good runs in the first half too, but executed a little bit better. And we're really close to popping a couple of more. So, but now schematically, I would say overall not a whole lot different.
Jalen's heading into a senior game on Saturday. Has his impact away from the football field been what you wanted it to be on, especially guys like Spencer Rattler and those young freshman receivers that came in?
Yeah, no, he's had a really good impact on our program, our guys. Seeing a guy that prepares like he's a pro and has a great mindset and approach, and then certainly some of the ways handled, the different things throughout the season, coming in, trying to learn a new offense fast, the different challenges with that, trying to become a leader on a team of guys that you don't know, some of the adversity throughout the season. I mean, it's no doubt it's, that's what you hope you have. You hope you have really good guys in each of these rooms that when they leave, there's still lessons and they've, the guys in there have taken a lot from them that makes them even better.
Baker obviously had his second half against Tennessee in 2015. It's Kyler in Texas last year and Jalen the other night. What kind of the flip is switched for those quarterbacks that you've seen where they just not as played their best ball in the first half and then obviously did what he did in the second half?
Well, I mean, they're all capable of it because all three of those guys are mentally tough and they're all extreme competitors. And if you're truly that, then the game, how the game's going, you don't view it as a fan. You just continue to compete, and you got to think that way just to give yourself a chance, and then obviously you got to go out and do it. And they've all been capable of it, and they've all had a supporting cast that's helped them do it.
Okay, last question, John Hoover. Pressure's on. Baylor might have the best defense overall in the Big 12. I think maybe you guys make a case for that now. But did you sense during the game, because of the play disparity and the time disparity in the second half, did you sense that they were getting tired? Did you get on the headsets and say, "We got them now, boys, they're tired," or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, just because, a lot of our guys are playing the same amount of snaps too. There's times against certain teams, maybe a team that doesn't sub a whole lot or this or that can happen. But I mean, we're playing virtually the same linemen all the game too. We're playing the same quarterback for the most part. Played the same running back, rotated receivers a little bit. So I mean, I didn't sense that a ton. I mean, both teams were a little tired at the end. It was just, I think some of it was the amount of plays, and some of it was just those games like that are heavy hitters, man. I mean, games like that, guys are always kind of spent, at the end of the night, just because every play is full speed and it's physical and it's an emotional, and so I think probably more a result of that than anything.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.